Tag TV and Tag Radio. Be seen and heard by both technology users and technology producers throughout the state of Georgia and around the world. Low cost, big benefits, powerhouse online branded video and audio has arrived. Tag TV, Tag Radio, there's a lot more to know. This edition of Tech Talk is brought to you by Globalspeak.com, new media consultants, corporate video and audio communications, video and audio production and distribution, live and virtual event production. Tag TV and Tag Radio is a service of Globalspeak.com, creatively delivering powerful marketing, video, and audio solutions. The story? Well, it's legendary. It went from startup in 1994 to nearly $400 million by 2008. By the time he sold Internet Security Systems, ISS, it was acquired by IBM for $1.5 billion. That's billion with a B. He also founded two other successful technology companies, Actuation Electronics, a precision motion control company, and Leapfrog Technologies, a software development company. Okay, just what is Tom Noonan up to now? Greetings, everyone. It's Tuesday, October 12, 2010, and this is Tech Talk with Technology Association of Georgia President Tino Mantilla. I'm your guest host, Frank Baia. Our focus on the upcoming MIT Enterprise Forum, TAG Smart Grid Summit, Wednesday, October the 13th at the IBM Hillside campus continues as we speak with one of Georgia's most successful technology entrepreneurs, top national industry executive, and truly among the industry's visionary elite, Tom Noonan, now president and CEO of yet another rapidly growing Atlanta-based startup, JouleX, already making a name for itself as a key player in the evolution of the smart grid. How are entrepreneurial companies driving technology and business to transform the developing energy grid? How will it advance innovation and accelerate economic development? Tom shares insights into those questions and more as we tech talk about JouleX and how he's planning to optimize the smart grid opportunity. Tom joins other distinguished panelists at Wednesday night grid gathering, such as IBM's Global Energy VP, Alan Shore, and Anthony Maiello, General Manager Systems Engineering with the GE Energy Group. Want to know what's next in the rapid growth startup technology arena and gain the insights of a billion-dollar serial successful entrepreneur? Hear from someone who, well, has been there and done that over and over? Get ready for some true grit Tech Talk as we speak with none other than Atlanta's own JouleX President and CEO, Tom Noonan. Tom, welcome to Tech Talk.
Thank you, Frank. It's a pleasure to be with you today.
Well, we've been learning a lot over the last couple of weeks about the grid, about the energy internet, reducing waste, the consumer management capabilities, even some of the integrating of renewables, a lot going on. Tell us from a perspective of yet another entrepreneurial situation that you're involved, JouleX, how does it contribute to the smart grid?
Well, the pioneering work that we're doing at JouleX is truly exciting, and it holds great potential for more cost-efficient and environmentally friendly business operations. JouleX provides a sustainable energy management solution for enterprises so that they can do their part in helping the world move to a cleaner and more efficient grid. Let me put it this way, Frank. About 40% of the power consumed by the IP-connected infrastructure is wasted. Basically, it was built to be always on as opposed to always available or available when needed. And in the United States alone, commercial buildings consume about 70% of all electricity. Over half of that is being consumed by the IT infrastructure. So, not surprising, sustainability has found its way into the corporate boardroom as companies are driven by pressures from their stakeholders, whether they're customers, partners, or shareholders, government regulation, and even by financial incentives to reduce their energy needs today. I think most people believe that energy conservation is one of the single biggest reservoirs of energy in the world today, and we are really, really excited to talk about this topic and hope that the folks in the audience out there are too, and I hope they'll all come to the MIT Enterprise Forum's Smart Grid event at the IBM Hillside Auditorium on the 13th of October to hear more.
Actually, I mentioned it in other interviews. Anyone that is interested in finding out how their business can benefit from the smart grid technology and the green movement needs to attend the event. There's just no two ways about it. Let's talk a little bit, though, about the evolution of the grid versus where you're at with your company. I would think that you've got some immediate opportunities, if not already implementing it in the marketplace, yet I know the grid, it exists as it does today, but certainly is going to be evolving over the next few years and to become something much more elaborate and complex and offer even more opportunities for other technologies. Talk about timing here. Where do you sit? You mentioned about the importance of the grid, and yet you're also talking about efficiencies that can be represented today.
Absolutely, Frank. I think this is one of the most exciting aspects of this. The smart grid is a worldwide movement. Each country is working and investing significant capital into building a more resilient, more intelligent power grid, and that's especially true here in the United States and in Western Europe. Even in Asia, this is happening. And JouleX really represents the last mile of that smart grid. So if you think about the smart grid, it intelligently communicates instantaneous power demand to the power company from each individual meter. That's where JouleX comes in, because JouleX is helping companies monitor, analyze, and manage the power consumption of every single IP-connected device, whether that's across the office environment, in the data center, and increasingly lighting and facilities energy consumption is all IP attached. So the savings that we're talking about, that our customers are already experiencing, are some 30 to 60% energy savings just by proactively monitoring, analyzing, and managing their power consumption, which is all connected to the smart grid. And of course, when you have a environment like we have today where the demand on power production is greater than it's ever been, being able to manage that wasted energy is critical, not just from a dollars and cents perspective, but also from a carbon reduction and greenhouse gas reduction perspective. So, I think this is a movement that's here to stay.
I go into a little bit more detail now for me. I mean, I think you've covered a point that I find interesting. I mean, I get the idea of the effective management of energy usage. Some of the things we've talked about with some of our other guests on Tech Talk have talked about peak times and even the prospect of consumers ultimately, or certainly enterprises, having some form of storage to be able to allow them to exchange, if you will, energy demands and off periods when the actual charges are going to be that much less. And I certainly understand the economics of that. But again, talking today, and especially even if I'm understanding, you're talking about pretty much technology driving energy expenses, right? Is that what you're saying in terms of what JouleX does?
Absolutely.
I know it's naive. I'm just, these things are so deep, and you get into a vertical the way you are, you almost get it as rote. I'm saying that I'm kind of like our listeners. I'm going, what kind of enterprise is your sweet point? Because how much energy do these things use, and when does it take get to a point where there's enough of it that you would require a piece of technology to manage it?
Sure. No, I think it's a really good question, Frank. And let's take a typical enterprise today. They have distributed office operations with printers and copiers and PCs and Macs and Linux boxes and wireless access points, VoIP phones, switches, routers. These things are plugged in and they're
okay, I hear you,
on around the clock. Then they have data centers, which are operating 7/24, but they're operating typically 7/24 with a wide open power grid consuming power. Most data centers today will tell you they're power constrained, not footprint constrained. And then increasingly you have HVAC and lighting systems which are connected to the network. and those HVAC and lighting systems or building management systems are consuming about half of the energy.
I get it. I'm feeling stupid now because I understand exactly what you're saying, and that is that all of the other systems that are not necessarily IT related but are driven by the same software or technology that's basically managing the entire internals of the infrastructure of the company.
Exactly.
Okay.
We have built management systems to patch, to update, to check security, to do revision control, but we've never built a distributed system that says manage the energy consumption across all of these heterogeneous devices, from IP phones to wireless access points, and that's precisely what JouleX does. I'll give you an example. One of our early customers' IT-related power bill was about 520 million euros last year. That's about over $600 million just on energy. In utilizing the JouleX Energy Manager across their environment, they've been able to save almost $70 million in energy costs without any impact to productivity. So there is a tremendous amount of energy being wasted in the IT infrastructure. In many environments, it's as much as 50 to 60% of the power consumed by all this equipment is being wasted because it is on at all times.
Sure. No, I mean, clearly that's one of the great parts about having an opportunity to speak with you, Tom, because at first blush, I didn't realize the kind of depth that the JouleX was getting into and what was interconnected at the enterprise level. You take it for granted because you see things independent of each other and
Correct.
Don't think in terms of them all being integrated. Have you guys identified specific areas where enterprises can more effectively manage energy usage, or is it just across the board depending on who you're dealing with?
Absolutely, Frank. All of us can do a better job of managing energy if we're conscious of it. The challenge with the IT infrastructure is the scale of that IT infrastructure. There are thousands upon thousands of devices within corporations that are consuming power that no one sees. They're in the walls, they're behind the closets, they're in the data centers. Just ask you the question, when was the last time you turned your phone off or your printer?
No, without question, I get it, and that's what's so fascinating about what we're identifying here is that so much is, unfortunately, you're oblivious of it, and that's where the waste really lies.
Exactly. So our sweet spot, quite frankly, because we just launched the company in May, we've been working on the technology for about 2 years, but our focus now is on larger companies who consume the most energy. The largest IT networks consume the most power. We've been very, very successful in the distributed office environment. We've been building upon our successes in the data center of these big companies, and increasingly we are being brought into the facilities and building management organization in the corporation because corporations want a single view of energy consumption across their corporation. They want to know by department, by location, by business unit, where is my power being consumed and how much power is being consumed, because it's the age-old adage, Frank, if you can't measure it, you can't control it. And so one of the biggest values that we provide initially is measuring the very granular energy consumption of every IP-connected device. And the magic in what we're doing is that we do it remotely. We don't require a software agent to be installed on the device. And so this allows this system to operate at very high scale, and installation typically takes 2 to 3 hours. So it is a very, very quick time to value.
That is absolutely killer, Tom. I mean, I get it. And I'm guessing over a period of time, you're also going to be gathering data so that you're not an aftermarket concept. And once you catch up with what's going on, you become part of the actual building infrastructure that happens when something is constructed, or you can even provide information to help design things better to make them more efficiently, so you don't have to go back and fix the problem after it happens. I mean, I'm overwhelmed. Real quickly, we're running out of time.
Opportunities.
Running out of time. How about other benefits? I mean, nobody is going to argue over saving money, and especially the kind of numbers you've shared with us. But other benefits to JouleX being connected? I love the remote idea. That's absolutely dynamite.
Well, one of the great benefits is loop closure, and that's a technical term, but TAG in the MIT forum is a technical forum, so let me explain very quickly. Demand response is all about corporations dynamically reducing or modulating their power consumption based upon the needs of the power company or the ability of the power company to serve them. So when it's 110 degrees in Atlanta and Georgia Power needs everyone to cut 5% of their power reduction down, our system is integrated with that smart grid and those smart meters, and it would be very easy for a company to say, shut down all unutilized IT equipment, for the next 5 hours during this brownout condition and do it automatically. So there's a tremendous amount of value in closing the loop of the final mile. But I think more importantly, we're living in an age, Frank, where sustainability and our Earth is an important aspect of who we are as a corporation. And corporations are trying to be good stewards of the Earth. And the less energy we use, the less greenhouse gas we emit, the less carbon we emit, and the cleaner we leave the environment. So, if saving money, if the profit motive is not enough for a corporation, clearly the sustainability initiatives that are driving most boardrooms today are becoming compelling. And government regulation is coming down the pipe in the UK and in Japan and Germany. There's already strict limits on carbon emission, and it's bound to happen here as well.
Well, good. Great name, smart. I mean, it's smart to sometimes even be altruistic and materialistic if it works out, and it's a win-win on both sides. We've mentioned
make you feel good.
Both times, when you make money and when you're doing good,
exactly.
It's a win-win. Well, we've mentioned the live event a couple of times. It's at IBM Hillside Auditorium. Our listeners can go to the MITForumAtlanta.org. That's www.mitforumatlanta.org, or they can go to tagonline.org and look under events, and I'm sure the forum will be promoted there. Registration is open. It's Wednesday, October the 13th. One final real quick question, Tom, because I've got you, and you don't get an opportunity too many times to spend this much time with you. What's on the horizon in terms of new technology and maybe even functionality once this thing is optimized?
Well, I tell you, Frank, energy is a $7 trillion a year industry. It's the largest industry in the world, and the technology that is being developed to modernize this industry is happening at breakneck speed. Let me give you just a brief survey. JouleX has just patented mobile technology so that as an employee approaches their workspace, all of their personal productivity technology can be turned on, and when they actually walk away from that workspace through the GPS resolution, it will actually turn it all off. This is exciting because most of us simply live in an out-of-sight, out-of-mind world. And there are many other technologies on the horizon. JouleX is using the cloud to store thousands of companies' energy reduction and energy consumption data. This really holds the potential and the promise for us to begin mapping at a global scale the energy consumption and reduction of companies around the world. There are just so many exciting things happening here.
It's mind-boggling. I mean, I'm hearing you, and I'm thinking, at some point, again, as I was mentioning earlier, you're not an aftermarket. I don't know what the right term for it, but you're not selling after the fact. You're actually part of the decision-making process in terms of even the raw utility resources, because you'll be able to project and have actual, as you say, measurable information from a consistent flow of information. So in part two, even the community joining you to save money, joining you from the green standpoint, but joining the greater community for the overwhelming knowledge that you're going to be able to gather and share.
Exactly.
It's powerful.
That is why we are so excited to be part of this MIT forum, and I can't wait to get there and meet up with my fellow technology lovers from around the city and really talk about an area of technology that is ripe for innovation.
Well, the dialogue continues. It's certainly going to happen at the forum, but also hopefully we'll have you back here at Tech Talk again soon. Tom, thank you for taking time out of your busy schedule for joining us today on Tech Talk.
Frank, it's my pleasure.